Taylor Swift has been growing in popularity and influence for a long time, but now it's reached levels unlike anything I've seen in my lifetime. The closest comparison I think of is Michael Jackson, and even next to him, she's next level. She's been credited with changing the trajectory of the economy wherever she performs. She's now a billionaire at 34 years old. She's selling out multiple nights and concerts in the largest cities and their largest venues all over the world. She's racked up 14 Grammys, and now it looks like she's remaking the NFL. Now, the big question is, why? There's lots of pop stars out there. What is it about her that's so unique and so universally appealing? There's lots of theories, including that she's a psyop for the CIA.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
We will cover all of that and more in this video. I think one of the answers will surprise you, and the source of the answer may surprise you even more. Now, to understand all this, we need to start here. So the eyes of the whole world are on the romance between Travis Kelce, the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, and Taylor. And Travis Kelce's dad, Ed, of all people, shed profound light on the Taylor Swift phenomenon. Ed Kelce was asked what he thought of Taylor Swift, and first he admitted to this embarrassing fact that he forgot her name on their first encounter. Well, he's close to my age, I get it. Don't be hard on the guy. He actually gives two observations that are important, one that's fairly obvious and the other one not as much. First, he said this, quote, "She's very smart. I mean, very. That comes through right away." Now, because it's fashionable among those who don't like her, for whatever reason, to think because she's a female pop star and she's written a lot of songs about her boyfriend breakups, she's just a pretty face.
I don't want another pretty face
with very little substance. Now, that's obviously silly when you think about it, but maybe we need to take Ed's assessment seriously. So she's very smart in especially two important ways: artistically and on the business side. Now, on the business side, she's been at the helm of her career since she started as a preteen. Now it's been said that she's remade the music industry and may have done the same to the film industry. You can't do that by being dumb. I doubt there's any marketer who knows her audience better than Taylor Swift does. She speaks their language, she understands their struggles, and she reflects their feelings back to them like no other person. Add to that some very, very shrewd business moves, and you may just be dealing with a genius. Now, artistically, her brightness shows up in the fact that she's a great songwriter. Yep, that's right. Not a good songwriter, but a great songwriter. I said it. And I know there will be music snobs who either turn me off now or send fiery dismissive responses. Go ahead. But I'm right. I'm, of course, not comparing her to Bach, but we don't compare other popular music writers to Bach either. For the broad genre of popular music, Taylor Swift is amazing. She has written or co-written all of the songs on all of her studio albums. And guess what? The majority of her songs are really, really good, just as songs. I spent a lot of time in my early life immersed in playing music and trying to write songs and hanging out with people who were trying to write songs and make it in the music business. And you know what I discovered? To write a song that genuinely moves people in a major way, the way Taylor Swift has, is not nearly as easy as it looks. And it's an art form that she has mastered. I believe when you strip away all of the glamour, the money, the fame, and the personality on display, Taylor Swift is at heart a lover of music and a writer of songs, and a great one at that. Yeah, but you may say, well, lots and lots of people are great marketers and write great songs and have been very famous for it. Why is she so ahead of the pack? Is there something else that may be missing from others that are trying for the same thing? Yes, and leave it to our friend Ed Kelce to bring it out. In an interview with People magazine, Ed describes Swift as, quote, very, very sweet, very charming, down-to-earth young woman, very genuine. And then he goes on to tell this story. He says, we're sitting in the suite at the football game. She gets up to go get a drink or something, and she starts picking up empty bottles, cans, and plates that are scattered around. Because in the suites, everybody gets stuff, and you empty it down wherever you can. And I'm just thinking, I don't think she got the diva memo. She didn't get the spoiled musician. She doesn't know how to pull that off. Now keep in mind, this is a 51-year-old non-music fan, presumably, of Taylor Swift anyway, and he knows she's a big deal and that his son is dating her, but he's likely to be just as interested in the game and hang out with his family and friends. But then someone asked him, what was it like to meet her? And he says, she's sweet, she's charming, she's down-to-earth, genuine. Those are great words, but then he gives the example of this billionaire pop star throwing away other people's trash. Now that's a tip that there's something else going on with Taylor Swift in her profound level of fame, and it's more than just that she's nice. A while back, Stephen Colbert said about Taylor Swift, he said, quote, I will love her until the day I die, and I will arm her up and follow her into battle, and here's why. So he's at this event, and he's with his 14-year-old daughter, and she noticed Taylor Swift is over there. And he tells his daughter it'd be perfectly appropriate, normal to go over there and meet her. So they walk over. Now, Colbert introduces himself and then his daughter. And he describes his daughter as, a 14-year-old girl who's wearing this nice little teenage dress. And Taylor is there, standing there looking like a queen. But Taylor turns around and opens up her arms and says to Colbert's daughter, "Pretty girl," and hugs her and tells her all these amazing things about her looks and just praises his daughter for the next 30 seconds. And watching this, Colbert says, "I would jump off a cliff into a bed of spikes for that woman for how nice she was to my daughter." Yep, dads think that way. I know they do because I'm a dad and my daughter had a very similar experience. See, back when Taylor Swift was an opening act, my oldest daughter was already a Taylor fan. She goes to her show, and this was in the days when Taylor was unknown enough to still be at the merch table after the show. My daughter went to get her autograph. She's 13 years old. She's had a rough year going through what middle school girls go through. She's feeling bullied and undone by even girls she considered her friends. Instead of just signing her autograph, Taylor Swift enthusiastically put her arm around her and, just like with Stephen Colbert's daughter, raved about how pretty she was and wrote on her t-shirt an arrow pointing up to her face and wrote "pretty." Now, of course, when I heard that story, I didn't get to see it. As a dad, I was just like Colbert. I will follow you into battle. But what does that have to do with her fame? Now, I would say in our culture, everything. Ancient historian John Dixon took part in a historical research project at a state university in Australia that was trying to uncover why, in the West, we prize humility and where that came from historically. They were just kind of looking for the answer to that. We do, whether we realize or not. We prize humility. We like it when our heroes are great, but carry it on in an approachable, gracious, and humble way. And that has not always been true in other cultures. The Romans, the Greeks, the Persians were not that way. Now, Dixon spends a part of his book helping us understand what true humility is and what it's not. It's not self-abasement. Actually, it has more to do with how you treat others than how you think about yourself. He defines it this way: humility is the noble choice to redirect your power in service of others. True humility presupposes the person being humble has dignity and strength to redirect that dignity and strength for the sake of other people. Taylor Swift has the accolades to herself, but took the time and had the humility to take that adulation she receives and turn it around to a couple of young, insecure girls to serve them. Now, whether consciously or unconsciously, our culture loves that. We think the same when we hear about her cleaning up the trash. And even if you haven't heard those stories, there's something to Taylor Swift's demeanor, her honesty, her relatability that people know by instinct is marked by humility, rightly defined. Now, that research project was trying to find out where that attraction that we have came from, since it hasn't always been around historically. Remember, this is a state school that did this, not a religious school. And here's what the research project concluded. Western fondness for humility almost certainly derives from the peculiar impact on Europe of the Judeo-Christian worldview. See, they trace the origin of the idea to Jesus, not as much to his teachings as much to his death. See, crucifixion was the ultimate in humiliation, but Christian thought was that Jesus was the power who laid down his life for others. And this invented an entirely new ethic and passion for humility that's been handed down generation after generation after generation and has shaped the West. See, in our culture, we're much more Christianized than we realize. We prize things that other cultures haven't always prized, and there's a direct link to Jesus and his influence. In Dixon's words, he says this: "My point is not that Christians alone can be humble. Rather, as a plain historical statement, humility came to be valued in Western culture as a consequence of Christianity's dismantling of the all-pervasive honor and shame paradigm of the ancient world. Put another way, while we certainly don't need to follow Christ to appreciate humility or to be humble, it is unlikely that any of us would aspire to this virtue were it not for the historical impact of Jesus' crucifixion on art, literature, ethics, law, and philosophy. Our culture remains cruciform long after it stopped being Christian." Now, this is not a commentary on Taylor Swift's personal faith or her expressions of that faith. That's another discussion, which, if you want to look at her spiritual journey, our network is partnered with Trinity Radio, and my friend Braxton Hunter does a great analysis of Swift's faith journey as much as is revealed in her music. Look at it here.